All right, welcome everyone to our presentation. Today we will be talking about cover letters, and we'll talk about best practices for a cover letter. We'll look at some samples and give you an idea of kind of where to get started. And then I'll direct you to our career services page on where you can find further information and other samples on cover letters to use going forward from here. So just as an overview, we'll kind of talk about what a cover letter is, what is its purpose, what's the best formatting to use going forward, what are the key parts of a cover letter, sort of the anatomy of a cover letter, paragraph by paragraph, and then just some key things, key takeaways to keep in mind. So as we go forward, as a reminder, those of you who are just joining us, welcome to all of our folks who are just joining us. This is being recorded, so you will get a copy of the recording that will be sent to you through email. It will go to your WGU email address. Again, I want to welcome everyone that's joining us for this cover letter presentation. So what is it? What exactly is a cover letter? Well, I typically say it's really a complement to your resume. There's going to be some crossover. You're going to have some things that you mention on your cover letter that's also going to be on your resume and vice versa. But the nature of a cover letter is different than your resume. A cover letter is more conversational. So it's a letter you're writing to someone. So the first thing is you want to make sure that you have your audience. Your audience for your cover letter is the company you're applying to. You do not want your cover letter to be very generic. You don't want it to be to whom it may concern. That's no longer used. It's really too generic. Dear sir or madam, that is old style, not used today. You may not know exactly the person's name. Pardon me. You may not know exactly where your cover letter is going to go beyond HR. So the best way to start out would be, dear hiring manager. If you can't have a person, have at least a job title, and you want that letter in your resume to get to the person who's going to make the hiring decision. That's usually going to be the hiring manager. So cover letters are more of a narrative. It's more of a little bit of your story. So the writing style should be formal. It should be professional. Unlike a resume where it's just quick, pithy statements, not really following traditional grammar rules, a cover letter does follow grammatical rules, spelling, grammar, things like that. Usually one page. Should be maybe 3 or 4 paragraphs, not very wordy, because it's just an introduction. You're not writing your biography. You don't want to go into too much detail, but you do want to make sure your cover letter is based on the job description. That is the most important part of knowing also about your resume. It needs to be based on the job description, because like your resume, a cover letter will be scanned by an applicant tracking system. It's going to be scanned by that ATS. So you want to make sure that your cover letter is targeted to the job using the keywords from the job description that you match. So you're highlighting those elements of the minimum qualifications along with your motivation. Why are you picking this company? Why are you choosing this particular career path? So that ability to align your interests and your motivation to the position and why you want to work for that specific company, that's what's going to make your cover letter pop. It can showcase your personality, again, your interests a little bit, your values and things like that as they align to the company. So it's a good idea to go to the company's website, look at their About Us, what do you align to with that company? You can go to LinkedIn, look at their LinkedIn account. How do they talk about themselves? This is going to help you with the content of writing your cover letter. So you probably read in job descriptions where obviously they have the qualifications and the skills and what the job is about. In those minimum qualifications, you're probably going to see, ability to communicate both in written and verbal form, right? Professional communication is a soft skill that's a qualification for most jobs. Well, a cover letter can be used as a writing sample. How you communicate through your cover letter could indicate how you communicate on the job. So it's more than just highlighting your academics, your personal qualifications, why you want to study or why do you want to apply for the position. It can also, behind the scenes, communicate your writing style and ability to communicate in a professional way. So again, it's a letter to the employer. So you're talking to the employer through your cover letter to explain why you believe that you're qualified for the position and why you want to work for that particular company. It's an opportunity in the same way as your resume, and this is where we talked about the crossover a little bit. It's another opportunity to describe your relevant skills and accomplishments as related to the job. So be professional, be proactive. And a lot of questions I get at times will be, are cover letters still a thing? Are they really being used today? And will employers really open up the cover letter and read it? When I talk to employers and hiring managers, they say it's not required. Sometimes they may skip over it first to look at your resume because of a lack of time. But others have told me, if you took the time to write a cover letter, we'll look at it. We're going to look at it because oftentimes a cover letter can tell us more than a resume, or at least additional information than a resume. And sometimes I heard this from the very mouth of hiring managers. They actually told me that there have been times where they have had, 2 or 3 really ideal top candidates, and the cover letter tipped the scales to one of those candidates, and they decided to put that person at the top of the list because the cover letter made the difference. So really think of it as I said earlier, a compliment to your resume, but another strong layer of getting your message across to the hiring manager. So the purpose of the cover letter and sort of the voice, we talk about the voice of the cover letter. It really needs to be answering the question, why them and why you? Include that first paragraph. Don't just jump in and talk about yourself, and that's what the cover letter is all about. Start by talking about why you chose this company, how you found them, if you found them on Handshake, if you found them on LinkedIn or wherever, and then why, due to your research, you chose to begin to pursue this company for your next career step. And then your following paragraphs can be about how you believe you match the qualifications, why you believe you would be an ideal or a strong candidate for the position. Here's a little bit of my own personal tip on this. Avoid using hyperbole. So avoid saying, I am the perfect applicant for the position. Well, you don't know you're the perfect applicant for the position. You don't know who else is applying to the job. So instead of being hyperbolic in that way, use words that still highlight your top candidacy, but it may be simply something like that. I believe that I can be a top candidate for this position, and this is why. So focus your attention on your most relevant and compelling qualifications. Again, and you're going to hear me say this over and over and over again, as it matches the job description. I keep saying that and emphasizing it because if your cover letter is too generic and it says a lot but not really anything about the job, then it could be easily passed over. So you want to be sure. Plus, again, with those applicant tracking systems, they will be looking for those keywords and those key elements of the position so that that match rate that you get both with your resume and your cover letter make you a higher score, so to speak, to get to the next level of consideration. So another purpose of the cover letter is to make a connection. And that's why I said reading the About Us page on the company's website, looking at their LinkedIn accounts and the details can help you identify to say, oh, I I have very similar interests, or I have, something that really brings a connection that I can draw out on my cover letter. One example of that is I had a student who was applying to the American Heart Association, and she ran in some of the like the 5K runs and things, and she put that in her cover letter, and that made that connection. It drew a link of interest to the company. Three other ways of making a connection through your cover letter, again, is to brand yourself to the culture. Branding your cover letter to the company, again, by using, at the top of we're going to look at a template of sorts, but, on your cover letter, you don't only have your name and contact information, you have the company's name, contact information. You have maybe a job announcement number that might be on the job description. Put that job announcement number on your cover letter. You're branding your cover letter to the position. And again, tell them how you came to learn about the role. You can even let them know that you have researched by using Handshake, by using LinkedIn, by exploring their own website. These three elements added more and more layers of enthusiasm to apply for the position. So they do want to hear that, and I know that sometimes that may sound trite, but employers want to actually hear you communicate, I want to work for you. I chose this. I'm pursuing you because I want to work for this company. Literally saying that adds that little spark to your cover letter. And you're demonstrating why you value what they do and what you can do to add value to the role and position. That really does make an impression for an employer. So when we're looking at the anatomy of a cover letter, this is a good example. And again, like I said, we have some examples on our homepage, and I'm going to send you some links for that. But if you look at both the right side and the left side, the black and the white of this, it's basically saying the same thing. The right side on the black square is kind of an outline of the sections that you can use on your cover letter, and then obviously the left side is a sample of wording and what goes into each section. So you see at the top, you have your name, your contact information. Pardon me. If you have your LinkedIn account, you can put your LinkedIn URL on there as well as also for your resume. The date that you're going to be sending it is always good. It's not a deal breaker if you don't have it on there. Your documents are going to be date stamped, right, on the application. So, but if you want to put the date that you send or you apply to the position, that's good. The company name, you may not know the hiring manager's name. Sometimes folks come and go and websites are not updated. So you can just simply put the company name, the address, the location, and then again, that RE, job title, or the job number is helping you to brand your cover letter to the company, to the job itself. And then I kind of lean more on just that one statement of, dear hiring manager, is enough. You know, you're addressing it to the person you want to make the hiring decisions. So that works just fine. If you know somebody, if you know the name and you're absolutely sure they're still in that position, sure, you can use their name. Just make sure that they're still they're still the person in that role for that. And then the opening paragraph again stating that you know how you found the job, why you are choosing this particular company, what you know about them, and then the further body of the paragraph of the cover letter expands on your qualifications, aligning yourself to the job description, giving some examples of that. Don't just say it. Don't just say that you did it. Tell me how you did it and why it's part of this position and that you can be an ideal candidate because you're bringing experience and knowledge and know-how to it. And then your closing and final paragraph is thanking them, you know, for their time and their consideration. Another little personal twist that I would throw out there is don't ask for an interview. I know that sounds counterintuitive. Don't say, you know, I look forward to scheduling an interview with you soon, something like that. The reason is that, again, this comes from hiring managers and HR personnel. It's not a deal breaker per se. It just sounds maybe a little pushy. It's like, you know, I'm going to schedule myself for an interview. Well, say something instead, something like, you know, I am available if you would like more or deeper information about my qualifications. I look forward to talking with you soon. Sincerely, and then your name. It's a little softer, um, but that's my take as I've worked with cover letters and hiring practices. All right. Now, a lot of folks will and have been talking about AI and Chat GPT. It's okay to use Chat GPT or any other AI based, you know, platform. If you have writer's block or you're like, I don't know how to start a cover letter, you can use, let's just say Chat GPT, logging into that account, have a job description, cut and paste the job description into the Chat GPT, and you can say something like, write a one-page cover letter to XYZ company using the job description, and then let it give you a sample of what a cover letter can look like. But then you want to take that as only inspiration. You want to take what's developed, what's generated from that Chat GPT, and you want to then put it in your own voice, make it your own. Oh, you're going to get some good samples and some good, you know, material to use, but then make it your own material, you know, by putting yourself into the writing of it. Then you're using it well. It's an ethical approach to use these AI platforms. And then if you want us to look at it and have a review, we're happy to be able to do that. You can just send it to us for a review on that. Now, what I'm putting in the chat is, actually, let's go to my next slide because that will tell us that. So I put in this article from JobScan, which is pretty good. It explains how to use Chat GPT in the way that we've described it. And also the other article from LinkedIn is also pretty good. So I put that in there for you to look at as well. And you can tap on those, you can download that, put it on your desktop, things like that for you to look at. Now, I did talk about finding us and going to our cover letter page. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this over so you can see our website, our homepage. And just as a check, I want to make sure this is working. Can y'all see that? Can y'all see that okay for career and professional development on your screens? Yes, great, Bertie, thanks. So when you go to our homepage, this is what you're going to see, right? Hopefully, I hope that most of you have seen this. Um, go over to Career Tools at the top, click on that. Then under Resource Library, click on Get the Job. And to the left, under Get the Job, you're going to see this navigation and you'll see cover letters. Click on cover letters. It's going to scroll down to the cover letter page and you'll be able to read a little bit more about that. You've got 2 templates that are here and you've got a brief webinar. It might be a little different than this live one, but you have another route to get to a video for writing your cover letter. But this will help you. And then you'll see here how to send it to us and simply ask for a review of your cover letter. Please make sure it's in Microsoft Word format. It's not a link. It needs to be an attached document so that we can open the document and then we can do a review of that and send it back to you. But that's how you find us and the cover letters. Now, we do have one statement by Drew who says that he used ChatGPT once for a cover letter. And just to note, it was a bit generic when talking about the company. So reinforcing, do some of your own research and incorporate it into your own words. Exactly right, Drew. Thank you so much. So yeah, and this is a chance to learn from each other because you all have had different experiences with some of these. And so what a great networking and resource we have right here to share some of these insights. So things to remember and some takeaways. You want to keep that theme when you're looking at your cover letter. You want to make sure that what sticks out is that your cover letter is the top part of your cover letter is going to be about them, why you are approaching that particular company and that role and the qualifications you believe you match. And then the last part or the second part of your cover letter can be about you. Why, show me why and how you are qualified for this position. Give me some examples. And then that closing of, that you're available for more information or answering any questions that they need. You look forward to talking with them soon. Sincerely, your closing. And the style we talked about, keeping it professional, using a business format. You have access now to some active templates to use. Usually no more than a page because you want to keep it brief and straight to the point. 3 to 5 paragraphs, but maybe a page is only going to be 3 to 4 paragraphs. Perfectly fine. Use a consistent font. And what I mean by that is I would use the same font you use for your resume. And in fact, I would use the same heading you use for your resume for your cover letter so it looks like stationery. That adds a nice professional edge. If I put those 2 documents side by side, that top part with your name and contact information, if that all look the same, that makes a sharp presentation. But then the font you want to be the same. If you're using Arial, Calibri, Times New Roman, keep it simple. Keep it one of the standard fonts. Don't try to get too fancy. And definitely don't put a signature font for your name. Just use the regular font. And to make any of your documents, your resume or your cover letter stand out, it's all going to be, is it sharp looking? Is it professional? And do you match the job description? So tailoring your documents to each different position is going to help you survive those applicant tracking systems and get you further down that applicant road the best way possible. All right. I know this was quick, kind of a quick and dirty presentation, so to speak, or a review of best practices. But I do want to answer any questions you have. If there's something that stuck out during this presentation, I am glad to answer those. Again, if you've gotten what you need, you're free to leave. And remember that you're going to get a recording of this as soon as we finish. Uh, WebEx will send me a link. I turn that into a YouTube video, and then I send out everybody an email with a survey and the link to that. So thank you all for joining. I'll say that ahead of time. I do want to address your questions, but if you do need to step out, feel free to do that, and we'll look at some questions. Does font size matter? Should we stick to? I would say, I think 12 is probably edging on a little too big. Personally, I like to stick to like 10 or 11. 10, I know sounds like it might be too small, but if you're looking for a way to optimize your space on the page, I'd say 11 is a good roundabout way to do that and keep it there. Your name and could be bold, that's perfectly fine if you want to give it a little bit of flair, so to speak. So Peter, I'm not sure. It depends. I mean, if you're talking about boilerplate, if you're just taking a template and adapting it to your own, um, that's why I say kind of stay away from templates that you find online. If you pull up a simple Word document and just use some of our examples and resources might be better. Sometimes, and I've heard this from more of a technical side, some templates that are online, although they're kind of pre-formatted and it's easy, maybe easier to use, there's also some code behind some of that formatting that might get in the way of those applicant tracking systems. So you want to be careful of that. Chat GPT and AI resources are still pretty new. I do know that there are also some employers that may be able to detect that this is coming from a AI or Chat GPT type source. That's why you want to take it, put it in a Word document, change it up, make it your own. Might help to minimize, any flags that might stick up. And yes, Hetty, everything will go to your WGU email. All right. Thank you, everyone. Sending the kudos there. All right. Yes, Charmaine, I would have a one-page cover letter because you really want it to be very succinct, concise, kind of straight to the point. It's an introduction to your resume or your deeper qualifications. It's just a kind of a shout out to the employer. You want to give some substance, but maybe a one pager is a good way to do that. Eddie, no, no headshots, no pictures, not unless you're going into the entertainment business. And I haven't worked at a university. I worked at one university with the fine arts program. But I never had anybody do a resume or cover letter on a headshot. So no pictures or icons or graphics or anything like that. Amisha asked about explaining a work gap in the cover letter. I'd say if it's relevant, it depends on what the work gap is. If it's more than a couple of years and you were taking care of family or you were just returning from the workforce from military service or you were a stay-at-home parent, something like that, you can sure mention those. But what would be most important is to also mention what were you doing during that time. Were you pursuing your degree? Were you pursuing other professional development workshops, things like that? So employers like to know if you mention a gap, what were you doing that might be relevant to your skill sets and things like that. Let's see here. Drew, let's see if I think using a PDF bypasses any issues. I would look more into that. Now, again, these are kind of emerging technologies. One of our issues some time ago, back in the day, anything that's going to use headers or footers or tables or text boxes could not be read by an ATS because they're kind of pictures, if you will, and a PDF is, it stands for protected document format. So it's almost just like a picture. And if any old ATS systems cannot read through those, then you're kind of kicked out of the game. I would just keep it simple. KISS. Keep it simple, silly. I won't say the other word. So I think a Word document's probably going to make it through across all structures. Is my opinion for that. All right. Okay. Great. Yeah, if you're a career changer, Lamisha, and any others still in the room, you want to draw a connection, and maybe your emphasis is on your schoolwork. And to say that you're a career changer, you're coming from one field to the next. Why are you interested in this industry, this new industry? What are you doing to now bring yourself up to speed by getting your degree? What key courses have you covered that would be relevant to the job? All right. And then maybe your next step is to look at an internship. If you can't find an entry level position that that sounds like it might be going for you, you might look for internships. Um, and so you might look in our site. I'm going to find this for you right now. We're all full of helpful information. So I'm going to send you our internship link so you can look at that. And just give me a minute here as I get the right thing here. We call it Gaining Experience. And it's going to give you some resources to look at. So hopefully that will help. If you need an internship, this hopefully will help you with that. And then again, cover letters are still going to be relevant. If you're applying to an internship, still gonna be helpful. Any other questions or thoughts? I think everybody has been here most of the time, but just as a reminder, if you're just stepping in, this is being recorded, and I will send a copy of the recording out to you. Also, if you've gotten what you need, you're free to go. There's no time limit on this. And I do thank you all for joining, and thank you all for the thank yous. And good night to you all. Michelle Marciana, staying in the Italian. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and stop the sharing for this. So hopefully you all have a great rest of your day.